Oh, that's right. We're gonna change up this opening, aren't we?
We don't have
Oh
to.
yeah.
Just
No, this is the start. We're uh oh. All of a sudden, we're at a podcast. It's the Adamant and the Analog Show, brought to you by Harrison Dunn and the other guy.
Harrison Corey Murphy.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Oh, we're not really good at doing these ad libs. Yeah. Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Adamantly Analog, where we workshop our open on the fly. I didn't even tell Corey that we were going to start workshopping that open, and here we are, just recording.
That comedy bit of pure entertainment was just right off the cuff like that.
Yeah, you can't plan stuff like that. You can't write it. Well, this week, Corey, I think we got something real special. You know, you and I met playing Magic the Gathering, and we've got great chemistry, alchemy together. And
nice. See what you did there.
Yep. Magic is a thing. So let's talk about Magic today. And by talk about Magic, I mean board games, tabletop games that have Magic in them, not Magic the Gathering itself, because that's a different podcast job, and plenty of people do that very well.
You know, there are so many of those. I was surprised when I started thinking about this category. I was like, holy cow. I could list off tons of games that are Magic adjacent, but I've only picked the 3 best ones. Okay.
Oh, okay. See, I took a different stab at it, and I was trying to think of games that use Magic in some way other than just the theme. And I don't think I succeeded. It was really hard for me to find things. When you're sitting there trying to think of a list of things in a category, I just had one of the old brain farts, and I was like, man, I can't think of a single board game right now. But that being said, I think we come up with some good ones, so we'll have a good time here.
Yeah.
But before we get to our topic, Corey, what kind of games have you been playing recently?
Oh, well, just last night, we went over to our neighbor's house for a weeknight game night, maybe. And we played a game I had never heard of before. And that is impressive to me because I do a board game podcast. But my neighbor is one that backs a lot of Kickstarters. And this was a Kickstarter game from actually 2021. It's older, but he had never played it before until recently, learned the rules. And we busted out Night Parade of 100 Yokai. Have you heard of this, Harrison?
I can't say that I have, no.
Okay. Well, this is a fairly light. It's listed as a 2-weight area control game, and for, of course, as we mentioned on the last podcast, when I'm talking about the weight, I'm referring to the BGG rating, 2.0 out of 5, which is light. It's an area control game. It uses these little screen printed meeples that look very much like root critters. Okay. And in the base box, there's 4 of them. There's like these cute little frogs with these giant eyes. There's these little foxes, bears, and what was the other one? Cats. They look, like I said, just like root figures. And what you're doing is pretty simple. You're basically assembling one of 3 different rows of face-up cards in front of you, like a tableau. And on your turn, you're going to activate one of those rows, take all the income. You're going to get the number of buys that those rows provide, kind of like Dominion. And you are going to then move or attack with the figures on the map. And the map is just this area control kind of game where the first one to reach the threshold of figures gets to replace them with one of their temples. And the temples are how you score points. It's very pretty, it's really pretty straightforward, I should say. And easy to learn, interactive, almost like too light for my liking. Like I wanted a little more depth to it. Of course, because it's a Kickstarter, there are some expansions going on. Yeah, I mean, we played it in about an hour and a half or so, and that was at 4 players, and learned it at the same time. And no, it was a good time. Didn't blow my socks off, but if you are at all interested in this, check it out. It's good light area control experience.
Yeah, the way you were describing it made me think, oh, this is right up Corey's alley, just the area control and fighty dudes on a map thing.
Yeah, but then it wasn't really. I mean, like I said, I didn't dislike it, but it was just, a little bland for me. But go check out the pictures. I think what sells this game is the bits. It's all these nice little wooden figures, and if you know Root, you know what I'm talking about. But There's a good tactile element to this one.
Yeah, the character, the figures, and everything look pretty cool, but the artwork is just kind of missing the mark for me. It's just a little bit too cartoony,
Yeah.
but I mean that's just me.
Oh, and I should also mention a big element in this game was kind of like luck. You know, you're drafting out of a market of 2 cards, and in a lot of cases, both of those cards were just kind of worthless to the tableau you were going for. So it's kind of like, all right, bad luck. Try again. And other players might have gotten exactly what they needed. So
Hmm.
it was pretty swingy in that way, but for a lighter game, it wasn't too offensive.
Yeah, I'm looking at the card art on this now, and actually it looks a lot more. Just the cover art that is throwing me off. The card art actually looks pretty nice. So,
Yeah.
yeah, here we are talking about what art looks like in an audio only format. Woohoo!
Yeah. You know. How about you?
Well, I've been playing a lot of games, Corey. We had impromptu game night with one of Lauren's friends, and then we had a regular game night on Tuesday, and we went to a late family Easter, and we got some games played there too. So we've been playing a lot, eating good. But I got the gang to the table a couple more times, which has been a lot of fun to explore that. Loving that I picked up a copy of that.
Yeah.
And then I also got Earth back to the table after what feels like a millennia. I got that game when it came out, when it was the hotness, and I was super excited about it. Played it a couple times, put it on the shelf, and then it's years later, and it hasn't been played again. So I was like, I want to play this one. Is it really as good as I remember it? And you know what? I still really like it. And I forgot how many cards are in that game. I lump it in the same group as, Terraforming Mars and Ark Nova is like big stack of cards that all do different things. But this is a big stack of cards. Like, feels like it's much bigger than those games. Of course, it's been even longer since I played those.
You have damn near all of them in your hand at a time too.
Yes, they are not shy about letting you draw cards in this game, which is kind of fun. I got to end my turn with the playing the terrain card that let me compost 20 cards from my hand, and I had more than 20 cards in my hand, so it was real satisfying to play it down and then slam them on the table and be like, ha, 20 points right there.
I can see the draw of Earth. The tableau building is real. The presentation of it is much like the color palette of a hospital waiting room. I don't know. It's just these kind of like muted pastel-y colors. I don't know. It's like a brochure, maybe.
I think it's a little bit nicer than that. I really like it. I'm a big fan of it. But for each their own. We're not going to go this whole episode just poo-pooing on artwork and presentation of games, I hope. But yeah, I mean, Earth is a couple years ago, the big like play cards to make a tableau of 4x4. You're creating like an island, and each round you're picking one of 4 actions. You do a good version of it, and then everyone else gets to follow. And then each of those actions can have any number of cascading effects, because each card can trigger off of one of the 4 actions. So you can build your tableau to be really good at composting or really good at growing, and you get some really big turns that feel really good. It was Lauren's first time playing it, and she really liked it. It was a good time. Yeah.
It is in the top 200 now. It's 199 on BGG.
Hey, there we go. Yeah. Good on you, Earth. Good on Inside Up. And the other reason I want to try it again is I saw their most recent Kickstarter that's out there right now, the Animal Kingdom. Have you seen this one?
Nope.
So they have another expansion now that is adding the ability to add animal meeples to your tableau. So they like walk around your island as you're building it. These screen printed animal meeples are gorgeous. There's like a giant elephant, and there's capybara and a monkey. They look incredible. They're so cool looking. I probably won't back it just because I don't need that right now. But it looks really, really nice. Like I'm going back and forth now. I want to back it because I just want the animal meeples. I don't care if I play the game or not.
Oh, it's the Animal Kingdom expansion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. It's an expansion for Earth.
Yeah. This is something I've been clamoring for with this game. I need some critters, some people, some life in these 4. I mean, obviously the plants are plant life, right? Mm-hmm. But it just seems like a game called Earth should be more representative of all of the beings on Earth, and for it to just be a bunch of trees, it's like, all right, come on.
It's not just trees. You play with 4 animals every game. There's the public scoring conditions of making habitats for certain animals.
Yeah.
But yeah, this certainly brings that forward.
Good stuff. I mean, I gotta get Earth back to the table, but let's move on.
Yeah. All right, this week's topic, making magic. We are talking about games featuring magic and spells and wizards and mages and all those good magical things. So, games on this list don't really have to do anything special besides bring the magic, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense? Yeah, cool. All right.
Yeah.
Kind of a broad topic, but it's fun. I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, I was really trying to find games that didn't just use magic as a theme, like have wizards in the game or something. Lords of Waterdeep, technically you're recruiting wizards and clerics. They use magic, but the game wasn't about magic. So I don't know how you took the theme on this, but I was looking for something a little bit more that let me chew on that idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I think more or less the same. Yeah.
But I got a fun first player rule quiz for you because you're such a big Magic the Gathering head, or you were, to decide who goes first this time. According to the official rules of Magic the Gathering, how is the first player decided in a game?
You shuffle the deck, you cut it. Both players reveal the bottom card of their library, and whoever has the higher mana cost goes first. That's how we used to do it in middle school.
Oh yeah, yep. There you go. Gotta get a copy of Draco in there just to cut that randomly and always go first.
But seriously though, my guess would be roll a d20, not a spin down, high roll.
The official rule is the players may use any mutually agreeable method, and then in parentheses, flipping a coin, rolling dice, etc.
Oh, okay. How about that?
But then the player who wins that chooses who goes first. So it's kind of like a catch. So you don't actually use the die roll to decide who goes first. You decide who decides who goes first. So
yep.
There you go.
Yeah, and you always want to go first unless you're playing a combo deck.
I think that changes by the meta too. I don't know where it is now. All right. So based on that, you didn't get the question right. So I will decide who goes first, and I'll decide you go first.
Oh, okay, cool. Put me on the spot. Well, my first pick is a game about magic, as all of them are. Specifically, the type of magic that comes out of wands from wizards and witches, particularly the ones at Hogwarts. This is Harry Potter, the Hogwarts Battle. And Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle is a cooperative deck building game with some of the most basic deck building concepts that you would ever see in a board game. So it's approachable for that reason. And it is a campaign game that progresses over 7-8 campaigns, I think, which each have sealed envelopes that can be opened to reveal new characters or older versions of the same characters. So you play as Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Neville. Yep, Neville. And the art comes from the movie. It's screen stills from the movie. And each game you play shows them a little older from a different movie in the same franchise, which is kind of fun. So yeah, pretty basic stuff as far as how you add cards to your deck, what types of things the cards do. There's attack and currency. But it's sort of nice to explore how the deck building concepts develop as you progress through the game and kind of onboard players that are new to that concept. But being an avid board gamer, I played it relatively recently, about a couple months ago actually, and I still had a good time with it, especially just enjoying it with friends and kind of cooperatively puzzling through the problems that we were having to overcome. Have you played?
I have played it, yeah. I picked up a copy at a thrift store at St. Vinny's of all places for like $10 or something, and Lauren and I played through it just 2-player, and we were pleasantly surprised. It's a pretty solid little thing, very very straightforward, but it lets you really have fun and experience that like power growth over a course of a couple games. There's kind of this neat escalation to it because you just keep on adding more bosses and like new hurdles that you have to come over every game. So there's kind of like this additive element to it, which does make the final games feel kind of a slog because you have to like work through this big deck of villains every time. But I don't know, I enjoyed it. Downside, it is in the Harry Potter universe, so like I don't even know if this game's in print anymore. Don't buy a new one. Don't give J.K. Rowling more money, please. But at the same time, the game is solid, and despite being a campaign game, it is fully resettable. So once you play it and you've seen what it's done, pass it on to a friend, or if your friend's got one, see if you can pass it around there. It's a good time. And if you really are averse to the Harry Potter thing, they use the same system. This is by the op. They have 2 other games that use the same system. They do a Toy Story one and a Avatar: The Last Airbender one, which I didn't realize until just now. So I think I got to go out and find that because I'm a big Avatar fan.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either. Same idea, cooperative deck builder that, okay, cool. Wow. All right. I'd like to check out that Toy Story one.
The Toy Story one is not great. I think that was the first one they did, and I played that one because I think I got it through a friend or like a demo service or something, and it was just a little bit too rudimentary.
Okay.
But that you can see the bones there, and they definitely like did better with Harry Potter. So I'm excited to see the latest entry, the Avatar.
Nice. Yep. This kind of game makes you realize that you can't really go wrong with deck builders as long as they're relatively balanced, and it is always a fun concept. Okay, so that is Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle.
All right, for my first one, I'm going to go for a game that I've talked about several times on the podcast here, but you know what? That's okay because I got something to talk about different this time. I'm going to do a different talking, and that is using language bad. So this is a 2016 game from Action Phase and Indie Boards and Cards. That is Aeon's End, the cooperative deck building game. I got another one here. So we've talked about this one a couple times in the past, right? Because it's cooperative, it's deck building, and it's got that unique twist of you don't have to shuffle your deck because you just take your discard pile and flip it over and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
But in this game, you are these like apocalyptic mages battling demons and opening up portals to summon spells. And the way that the spell casting works in here is really makes you think. It's pretty unique. So you have you're called a breach mage. That's what they're called. You got to open your breaches. We have a lot of fun with that, saying open your breaches over and over. So you've got these 4 portals, and at the beginning of the game, only one of them is open, and the other ones have to be charged to be able to open them. And those portals act as spell slots. And that does 2 things. One, it lets you play a spell from your hand, and then the next turn you take, it'll fire, and you'll be able to do damage and defeat the enemies. But it also acts as like a pseudo deck thinning. And I don't know if the later versions of this do it, but the legacy version that we're currently playing through with our neighbors encourages you to kind of play around with that more. It incentivizes you to not always fire your spells right away. Mm-hmm. And so there's this really cool timing that you can work out to, maybe you want to get your good spells next to each other. So you hang on to one till the other one comes back out so you can fire them together and they can be drawn in the same hand going forward. So there's some cool like manipulation stuff there. And then the ability to open more breaches as the game goes on is also feels like a good power escalation, where you start off being able to only cast 1 or 2 spells, and then by the end you can do 4, and your last breach slot, the one that's actually hardest to open, gives you a +1 damage bonus on the spell that goes there. So there's a push and pull of like opening that last one first if you can get to it. So as far as like Magic goes, this is a system that really embraces like what does Magic mean and how can we express that in this world, and the idea that like these people can cast spells, but casting spells is inherently a time-consuming thing, and you are racing the clock to try to save things is kind of a cool tension. So that is my first pick, Aeon's End.
Yes, I've played this one. I like it. It's hard. It's difficult. I have some kind of computer implemented version of this, and I can't remember if it's on Steam or what. But it's a good one. I enjoy it. I'm challenged by it, and I think the concept of like not shuffling your deck is a little bit abstracted by the computer, so I don't see that element of it very well. But I would like to play it in real life so I can get a better grasp on, how many cards are physically in that deck. Since when you're not feeling them and looking at them, you start to lose track of that. But cool game.
Yeah, I'm looking at it is on Steam. It looks like it's $15. And they are still updating it.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, they updated it in February with a new version. So, like, that's cool that it's actively getting support for a game. The digital version came out in 2019. So, I don't know. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, maybe I'll reinstall this now that you're saying that. I'm kind of giving it another go. Okay, I'm in. It's doing it. It's downloading.
Cool. So that is my first pick, Anne's End.
Okay, my next pick is Arcana Rising. How do you say that? Arcana?
You say it however you want.
All right, Arcana Rising. I'm going to choose that one.
Arcana.
I didn't consider that one. This is from Gray Fox Games. It is a 2022 drafting game. And the concept here is just basic drafting. You got a hand of cards. You pick one and you pass them to the left. And as you do that, you are plugging these cards or slotting them in to your personal player board, which has represented the 5 or 6 different elements of magic present in this game. Or I should say the schools of magic: charms, herbology, blood arts, potions, alchemy, and artifacts. And the colors match. That's how you determine where they go. I should say that. You can either draft a card into your tableau, like I just mentioned, or on your turn, rather than drafting one, you discard a card to activate whichever elements or whichever schools are strongest in that phase. And that is represented by a central board where you put the different colored chips into slots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to say that in round 1, there's 2 elements that are activated. In round 2, it's these 2 elements that are activated. So it's kind of a fun game of building this tableau where you can really just push on like the red suit at the same time as trying to time things out so you can push on the red suit and then also get the most value out of it when it's, the round for the red suit. It gives me these vibes of like, I don't know. Maybe it's kind of a game of its own, but it has a lot of really sort of rudimentary drafting concepts to it while also having a sort of refreshing take on the Tableau and engine builder. And overall, I played it without knowing anything about it, and I was like, wow, this game's actually pretty sweet.
Yeah, I think you mentioned this one sort of recently, like as a what you've been playing, because I'm looking at the BGG page right now and going, oh yeah, I remember being very intrigued by this, but I've not gotten a chance to try it yet.
No.
So have you happened to pick up a copy since then that we can add to the list?
No, but I have a friend here that has one nearby, so we'll have to get together with Anthony and see if he can teach us.
All right, Anthony, we're knocking on your door. Bring the magic.
This actually strikes me as a game you would like a lot, Harrison, so we should put it on the list. Let's do it.
Put it on the list. Oh, I still have the list open in another tab. I'm putting it on the list.
Oh, not to mention really cool art. Since this topic is inspired by Magic the Gathering, I think this one gives me Magic the Gathering vibes. At least the early days of Magic before Fortnite got involved.
The good old days. All right, that is your second pick?
Arcana Rising.
All right, my second pick, I'm going way back to the beginnings of my board game infancy, back when I was just a wee baby diaper board gamer and got in way over my head with 2012's Seasons from Libellude. Boy, this game. So I think I've told the story of how I got into this one, but I went into, it must have been Misty Mountain or Netherworld Games, one of the local shops that has board games, but you mainly go to for Magic. And somebody recommended it to me because it was a new board game and it looked cool. And I'm like, okay, that's enough. I was way over my head. I just could not wrap my head around what I needed to do to make these games be fun. And I ended up sort of getting it, and then I got rid of it because I just didn't play it enough. Now I regret that. I wish I had a copy because I got a chance to play it, the past year, and it was a lot of fun. So Seasons is a drafting game, card drafting game, that you can do card drafting at the beginning. It's a dice drafting game otherwise. So you're trying to play these different spells and familiars using different elements based on the seasons. And you're collecting those elements that are either easier or harder to get based on which season it is. And then over the course of 4 years or 4 rounds, you're trying to assemble the biggest tableau of different spells and effects. There was a lot of DNA in the more recent Veil of Eternity. A lot of similarity in just having a bunch of unique card effects that can trigger off of each other.
Yeah, it is really similar, isn't it?
Yeah, in a lot of ways. But this one, I really liked the idea of gathering the resources or the reagents you need to cast spells and then being able to pull off more and more impressive things and summoning cool artifacts and different familiars to help you achieve your goal of winning the game. And this one jumped out to me just because it says, you are a mage. And I'm like, yes, I am. That's right. We even played this one like way back when, didn't we?
I think so. I remember, yeah, during my Magic days when I was frequenting tournaments and stuff, I think I remember people playing it there and they were referring to it as drafting the board game. And that was always interesting to me. Very much like you, I played it early on. I was like, okay, this is a lot and I can't wrap my head around it. I came back to it many years later on BGA, which you can find it on BGA. It is not as complicated as I thought it was, but I think it seems a little abstracted at first and takes a minute to get your head around it. But it's cool.
Yeah, it's got this big weird circular track calendar thing in the middle of it that you can that you're using to kind of manipulate the flow of time, and the last die drafted in a round will indicate like how much time passes. So there's this element of trying to hurry time up by taking the low value dice and things like that, which were pretty cool.
Yeah, the art is incredible.
Yes, very very bright and colorful. This is the opposite end of the cartoony Saturday morning cartoons. It's just like very bright, energetic characters, but still maintains that like bouncy, cartoony atmosphere.
Right. Yeah, strikes me as the type of game that would have a meta, like a defined meta, because there are so many cards that do so many powerful things. In a relatively small collection, all things considered, for a card-based game. I don't think it's like a huge deck of possibilities. So I think you might, if you play this one a lot, you'll start to get, this one. When I see this card, I try to build this, or when I see these two cards together, I know we have to do this. So would reward repeat plays for sure.
So it's over 3 rounds, not 4 rounds. My bad. I'm looking at the pictures right now. It's 3 rounds. Forgive me, Seasons fans.
Okay.
All right, so that is my second pick, Seasons.
Okay, my third and final pick, sticking with the Arcana theme, except this time I'm going to choose to call it Arcana. So just, to make sure I cover my bases. This one is Res Arcana. That doesn't sound right. It's got to be Arcana.
Yeah, I think it's got to be, at least for this one.
And that's 2019 Sandcastle Games game. I've talked about this one plenty on the podcast. It's a nice little like drafting sometimes game because you can draft and it is encouraged. But you don't have to. In fact, I think the core rules just tell you to deal each player 8 cards out of the stack. And that's your deck. That's it. You have to figure out how those cards interact. You have to figure out how your engine works. And you have to make sure that you manipulate them in the proper order, which is really the key of this game. Because on your turn, you take 2 actions, and then you pass. And you go until you run out of actions. The goal being to score 10 points, to have 10 points. When everyone's passed, I should say. And your cards have points printed on them. You can earn a point for passing first. There's all sorts of ways about that, but it's kind of this tug of war game because there's times where those get passed back and forth between players.
There's like different magical sites or cards that are being passed around that have points values on them, right?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, they get you the places of power. Once you acquire them, they're yours for good. But they can produce points for various different reasons. They have different goals and different strategies that you need to employ to get points out of them or to generate resources out of them. I don't know. There's a lot of things going on. We'll put it that way. If you have the most points, once someone hits the threshold, 10 usually, the player with the most points wins.
I have only played this one like once or twice, and I just kind of bounced off of it the first time. But I really need to try it again because I think I've evolved as a gamer. Sorry, no, I've leveled up. That's more magical. Nice. I've leveled up since a gamer, becoming a gamer. And I think I would like that a lot more now. Because at face value, you tell me it's an engine building game with a limited card pool and you kind of got to find the engine amongst the cards you've been dealt. That sounds really appealing. Yeah. But I also remember the game being a lot more confrontational than I was expecting. Because resources are so limited and there is a little bit of push and pull between the players.
Yeah, the confrontational part about this one tends to be that there's dragons in the game that do directly attack the opponent. But the things that they do are not that big of a hindrance. And once you've passed on your turn, you can no longer be attacked. So generally speaking, new players in this game, I advise them not to go after the attack cards, the dragons, because in my opinion, I think they're pretty bad, but I'm sure there's better players, more experienced players with this game that would say, go get them. That said, yeah, it is really cool. I think you'd like it. Let's add this one to the list. This is definitely one of those games that I love, but don't play very often at all because I don't have a crowd for it. but it does appeal to those magic-minded folks who just like to find interactions between cards and keep on pushing that further with more cards added to their supply. So that is Res Arcana from Sandcastle Games.
It's funny you say put it on the list because as you brought it up, I was like, I'm putting this on the list right now.
Yeah, I do have this one.
All right. So my final game and the probably longest named game that I can think of off the top of my head, and that should be a tip off to anyone out there who's a hardcore wizard gamer. This is Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards Duel at Mount Skullsfire from 2012 in Cryptozoic. That's right. Let's say it one more time for the folks in the back. Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards Duel at Mount Skullsfire.
Nice.
So I feel like we must have played this one when we were younger, because I remember playing a ton of this when I first got into board games. Like either my roommate had it or I had it, but it is a King of the Hill-ish, just beat each other up card game with over the top graphic, cartoony, stylized artwork. Think like kind of like in the same vein as like Rick and Morty.
Super Jail.
Type of thing. Super Jail. Yeah, exactly. The artist is Nick Edwards, and I looked him up a little bit before starting this. He actually worked on like TV shows like Uncle Grandpa and Steven Universe. Yeah. So you can see a little bit of that element, especially in the early episodes of Steven Universe. But it has a very distinctive art style. So this game, you're dueling it out, battling it out with people, wizards. I think you play over multiple rounds, and a round ends when there's only one person left alive, or no people left alive, and then the winner gets some treasure, and then you keep doing that until somebody hits a threshold, a point threshold, or a treasure threshold. I forgot exactly what it is. But the basis of this game is that there's a big deck of spell cards, and spells come in three parts: sources, quality, and delivery. And a spell that you cast has to have a source and a delivery, but it can have any amount of quality in between. And the way that this plays out is the card art and name tags actually flow together to form a single thing, which is the huge draw for this. So your sources are all like named things like you would get in traditional D&D, like Mordenkainen's whatever. There's things like Professor Presto in Midnight Merlin. And then delivery is the actual like type of spell, like a fireball or something. And then quality is these adjectives that kind of modify it. Each card has some wacky effect. Like rarely is it ever just do damage. It's usually like roll a die and then do something. It's just crazy all over the place, random. But you get to cast spells like Professor Presto's Prickly Meteor Swarm. And meteor is spelt like
meteor.
It's more meaty than something else. Or Midnight Merlin's Delicious Chicken. There's a spell called Chicken, and there's so it's very goofy, over the top fun, very random. Not for folks who are competitively minded, because you're not going to win through much skill at all. It's going to be just random. It's more for the goofs and the funs. But crafting those spells is just super enjoyable. You get that effect of running a banner across and making your own stuff. And I think this was like probably one of the first experiences I had with the look at this cool thing I made in board games. Doing research for this episode, I kind of want that again. Like, I don't want to play this game again. Not right now. But I want to have that same, like, making a ridiculous spell or thing by stringing together card names. That's super cool.
Let's just say mechanically minded folks would probably be frustrated with this one. I don't think it's a master class in like board game design by any stretch, but it is entertaining, and for certain crowds that could be exactly what they need. Because you're right, the fun of it really isn't just being like, hey, look at what I did, this is funny, and seeing it all come together, because the art expands between the three cards that you line up, right? Like it kind of connects is what I'm saying. So that's always fun.
Yeah, and they're still making these. One came out last year. They're all called Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards, and then some sort of subtitle. And it looks like Anarchy at the Arena was most recent. They have Hijinks at Hell High, Panic at the Pleasure Palace, Melee at Murder Shroom Marsh. It is it's very graphic, very over the top, very not family friendly artwork and stuff, but it's a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Cool. That is Deep Breath, Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards, Duel at Mount Skullsfire.
All right, should we recap the list? Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle, Arcana Rising, Res Arcana, Aeon's End, Seasons, and Epic Spell Wars of the Battle Wizards, Duel at Mount Skullsfire. I almost got there.
That last one has more words than the rest combined, probably.
Indeed.
I didn't do the math. All right, Corey. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of Adamantly Analog. You know, we've been doing this for quite some time now. I can't believe that we're still doing it.
Oh, I can't.
You think we're done?
Committed. No, we're not done because we got a good one next week. I'm very excited to do our epic 50 game challenge. That means no strings, no script, no censorship. Well, I don't know. Who knows? We're just going to talk and talk and talk until we talk about 50 games. And I don't know how long that's going to take, Harrison. I think we can get it done in an hour.
I think it'll take 50 minutes.
Oh, is that the goal now? I think that's the goal.
A game a minute. A game a minute. We got to do it. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So that's a preview. And it's probably a much more exciting preview for us than it is for you.
You know, it could be one of our best episodes, or it could be completely incomprehensible. Who knows?
Only time will tell, and the editing process.
Yes, that's right. Well, Harrison, should we do the outro?
Yeah. What have you been consuming besides all those lovely cardboard bits?
Okay, so I was excited about this episode. Don't get me wrong, but I was even more excited to talk about this than the board game part. Have you heard of Cassette Beasts?
I saw you wrote it in the show notes, and I was like, oh no, I can feel me hitting the buy button on Steam right now.
Okay, yes, it's on Steam. I pretty much only play Steam games these days, but yeah, Cassette Beasts. It's basically a ripoff of Pokemon, and it is this self-aware, like ridiculous premise of when you see a monster out in the wild, you record it like you're dubbing something onto a tape. And then all of a sudden you can transform into that monster. And of course that doesn't make sense. And they even talk about it in the dialogue in the game. Anyways, the hook here is that it rips off Pokemon and it's co-op. So you can walk around with your buddy and you can take turns, you know, fighting monsters together. So we've had some fun with this. There's a lot of parallels to Pokemon. Like there's this element of evolution and this element of capturing them. And then there's even new things where you can train them with new abilities and things like that. So as these things are appearing in the game, I'm like, oh, that's like a TM or an HM, or, you know, that's like a Super Ball or an Ultra Ball. I don't know if Super Ball's a thing, but whatever. And I've been playing this with Nikki, who's never played Pokemon. So it's been kind of fun to expose her to that. And we've enjoyed kind of battling through the game and seeing what our critters evolve into, because they're all new guys that we've never heard of before.
This one's been on my radar for a very long time because, yeah, I hear it's just an incredible experience. It's a good time. Yeah. And the part that I'm most excited to get to, which I don't think you mentioned yet, was that if you know, it still has like the Pokemon elemental weaknesses thing, but if you hit those elemental weaknesses, there's also associated benefits. So it's not just double damage. It's like if you hit someone with an electric weakness, that might stun them or something like that, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and so we usually have a chart pulled up when we play because it's hard to remember all of them. One of the elements, of course, is plastic, because there's like these weird toy, like Lego robot guys that you can be. It's very bizarre, and the game is confusing as to who they're marketing it towards, because the characters swear sometimes, and they're kind of playing to the nostalgia of like us 90s kids. But at the same time, it's like I'm like this Lego robot guy. So I don't know. It feels kind of childish sometimes, but that's sort of the fun of it, isn't it?
Yeah, it has been on my wish list for a long time, and I see it is not currently on sale as of the time of this recording. But I can feel the next time it goes on sale, I'm gonna be snap picking that up.
It was last week. That's why we got it.
No, see, I didn't know it was co-op either. That's good
Yeah,
to
and
know.
I should say it's co-op in the first like 10 minutes of the game. And once you get to a certain point, the other player just hits start and all of a sudden they're like a fully fledged character that can do all of the things the first player can. Except for change their appearance. So, all right, what have you been doing?
Well, Lauren and I have been kind of looking for a new TV show to get into, and we've always seen the Netflix show Sense8 on there, but I don't know, just never tried it out. And we tried it after trying some other things that we weren't a big fan of, and it is slow and very slow, but I'm getting into it now. It's very strange. It's the Wachowskis, the folks that made The Matrix.
Mhm.
Now they're making, or they have this show about 8 people who suddenly are psychically linked and can do different levels of telepathy or just appear in each other's minds. So the way that they do this is they have scenes between 2 of these characters taking place in 2 different locations at the same time. So you'll have like one person talking and that looks like they're in Berlin, but then it cuts to a different angle and it's the same 2 people having the same conversation, but they're in Korea.
Mm.
It's a little bit disorienting, but I don't know. It's a slow build, it's a slow burn, but it's kind of cool. I'm liking it. A little harrowing, and there's some very stressful parts. One of the characters is a trans woman, and one of the plot points very early on is that she potentially is facing this threat of being forcibly lobotomized.
Oh, wow.
That's what it is. Yeah, it gets really heavy really fast. So I just like to say that out loud for folks that might be sensitive to that, like content warning. It's not overly graphic, but it handles some pretty heavy topics.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, we're more than halfway through the first season of 2, and I'm loving it, and I can't wait to wrap this up so I can go watch some. So let's wrap this up.
All right. Well, that takes us to the end. So you can. But I mean, I look forward to next week. This is a good episode, but just wait till we ramble for 50 minutes straight.
Oh yeah, you have no idea how much fun it is to ramble.
Yes, I'm gonna make sure I get lots of sleep that night and drink a bunch of coffee that afternoon.
I was gonna say drink water. Oh hey, dear listeners, if you're out there right now, drink some water.
Yeah.
Just a friendly reminder.
That's our call to action this week. Let's leave it at that. Take care of yourself, people.
Yeah, there you go. Drink water.
All right, cool. Well, on that, we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Adamantly Analog is Corey Murphy and Harrison Dunn. Original music and bumpers by Corey Murphy. To learn more, reach out to us at adamantlyanalog@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.